Bleacher Report as a platform has a long history of publishing articles where they try to predict the next big trades that will go down and shake up the NBA world, and if you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know that I like to analyze these proposals and give my thoughts on them based on how realistic they seem to be, and why or why not the teams involved would actually want to go through with them. This week, they put out another similar article, except this time they concocted an insanely massive 4-team Blockbuster deal featuring one of the biggest names in the sport teaming up with another one of the biggest names in the sport, and in this video I will be analyzing this proposal from the perspective of all 4 teams involved, determining whether or not they would or should go through with this. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. So before we dive into each team's perspective, I'll start by going over the full details of the trade proposed in the article, with the 4 teams involved in it being the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Detroit Pistons. In it, the Lakers receive Steph Curry, Day'Ron Sharpe, Wendell Moore, and a trade exception. The Warriors receive Austin Reeves, Ben Simmons, 2 first-round picks, and a trade exception. The Nets receive D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Jalen Hood-Schifino, a big trade exception, and a smaller trade exception. Then the Pistons receive Dennis Schroeder, Christian Wood, 2 second-round picks, and $4 million. We'll go through the rationale and analysis for each team one by one, starting here with the Lakers. And for a trade like this, from their perspective, they would absolutely love this opportunity to come about. In case you haven't picked up on it by now, the entire premise of the article that Bleacher Report put out was to find a way for LeBron James and Steph Curry to team up to spend their final few seasons together after developing a ton of chemistry playing together at the Olympics. This would be a duo dreams are made of. So while things are definitely going to get a little more questionable with what the other teams in this trade are getting in return later on, the Lakers are the most obviously motivated to get this done. The Lakers have had one of the most quiet off seasons in the entire NBA this summer so far, which is almost unheard of for a team that LeBron James is on, and with them having just been eliminated in the first round of the playoffs after landing in the play-in tournament again, it becomes even more unbelievable because I don't know how much more clear it needs to be that they are just not good enough as is. Steph Curry at this point in his career is also playing more off-ball than ever before, since his off-ball movement and work rate, running around screens, trying to find open looks, is still as good as it gets, and LeBron James is fully morphing into a Magic Johnson type of role, initiating the offense and creating for those around him as a big point guard coming off of a season where he just put up over 8 assists per game. The proof of concept for this pairing was on full display at the Olympics too, when they were the 2 best players on Team USA, combining on countless occasions. And in the NBA, them teaming up may be exactly what each of them need to extend their championship windows, because right now neither the Lakers nor the Warriors look to have a realistic chance to contend as currently constructed. Now, over to the Warriors side of things, we see a lot less motivation to go through with this. The truth of the matter is that the second Steph Curry is gone from the Warriors, they will be in a place where they'll need to rebuild for quite a while, and if they're going to embrace that pathway, then this kind of return does not represent those plans. Steph Curry, even at his age, is still good enough to warrant a return of more than 2 first-round picks, because he's still under contract for 3 more years and is still a top 10 player in the game. The idea of Ben Simmons being a worthwhile swing to take is quickly fading, with his back injuries racking up, with no real reason to believe that he'll ever return to his former all-star self, with his confidence also being at an all-time low. Austin Reeves is a very solid guard to have in your rotation for sure, but isn't nearly good enough to make up for the lack of additional draft capital because he's not an all-star caliber guy. So in this scenario, the Warriors don't get enough assets for a team planning for the future, nor do they get enough talent on paper to stay afloat in life after Steph Curry. A trade like this would lock the Warriors into the realm of mediocrity, which after blowing a team up is the last place a team wants to be. If the Lakers really want to pair Curry with LeBron James, they need the other teams in this proposal to cooperate even further and bolster the offer all around, because this is probably as much as they can offer themselves, and it's just realistically not enough. Now, to look at things from the Nets' perspective, they're also going in a new direction after trading away Mikal Bridges earlier this summer, so they have a lot of flexibility as they figure out how they want to construct the next era of Nets basketball. Getting rid of Ben Simmons and his massive contract, resulting in a $23.3 million trade exception, may not seem that exciting at first, but an exception this big is actually very valuable moving forward, because with their cap flexibility already being wide open moving forward, they can now take on an extra $23.3 million in trades, more than they normally would have under the salary cap restrictions, which would help them take a really big swing on a star player in a trade in the near future. That alone tells me that the Nets would be pretty motivated to help push this trade through, because they have almost nothing to lose and everything to gain just from that. Then when you factor in the fact that they receive 3 quality role players in D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and Gabe Vincent, who are not on long-term contracts, both expiring after 2 years and D'Angelo Russell's contract expiring next year, that would help keep the dreams alive as they evaluate whether they would want to re-sign those players long-term after their contracts, and if they don't, then they're gone. Plus, Jalen Hood-Schifino is a young talent a rebuilding team like them should be taking a swing on, as a former lottery pick who was probably just not ready for the bright LA lights. The Nets have a ton of cap space, and they just brought in 5 more first-round picks to use from the Mikal Bridges trade, so they're positioning themselves for a big bounce back in the coming years, and making a trade like this would elevate their future plans even further. Then finally, we have the Detroit Pistons' perspective on the trade, and I have to admit that the authors of this proposal actually did a pretty decent job giving the supporting teams a reason to get involved. I did say earlier that the Warriors would likely be the team least inclined to move forward with this, but the other 3 actually have a reason to be here. The Pistons are by no means the focus of this trade, but they're barely involved and still getting 2 veterans back to help guide their inexperienced core, along with some cash to balance out their payroll. Dennis Schroeder would be an amazing veteran leader for Cade Cunningham and their young backcourt to learn from, coming off of a strong showing at the Olympics, and Christian Wood is on a minimum expiring contract, so he can either get back to his explosive scoring ways or he's gone next year anyway. All in all, I completely understand why an idea like this is coming about, because LeBron James and Steph Curry themselves even seem pretty intrigued with the idea of teaming up together too, but this framework, in my opinion, is not what will get it done. The Warriors know what it takes to be on top, and I don't see them shooting themselves in the foot like this, selling Steph Curry for a lot less than what he's worth, knowing that their road to contention once he's gone will be pretty long. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about this blockbuster trade idea. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.